The Galactic Academy's emergency protocols had never accounted for a human instructor. Naira Solon pressed her small, furred body against the cold metal wall of the training facility, her amber eyes wide with terror as the simulation alarms shrieked through the corridors. Around her, the other cat cubs of the Feliner species scrambled into their prescribed pack formation, a defensive cluster where the strongest positioned themselves at the perimeter while the weaker huddled in the center, awaiting orders from absent adults that IT was efficient. It was logical. It had kept their species alive for millennia, but it left Naira on the outside, trembling. She was the smallest of her cohort, deemed too fragile for the protective outer ring, yet too proud to cower in the middle. So she stood alone, her tail tucked between her legs, as the simulation's holographic predators circled closer. The other cubs had already dismissed her. In pack formation, there was no room for individuals who didn't fit the mold. Then a hand touched her shoulder, Naira's ears flattened instinctively, and she spun around, claws extended, only to find herself staring up at the strangest creature she'd ever seen. Celine Kale, the human, stood there with an expression that the universal translator struggled to interpret, something between concern and determination, softened by a slight smile. "Hey there, little one," Celine said, her voice cutting through the alarm's wail with an inexplicable calm. "Looks like you could use a partner." Naira's whiskers twitched. Partner. The word felt foreign. In Feliner culture, there were only superiors and subordinates, protectors and protected. Partners implied equality, a concept as alien as the hairless biped standing before her. Celine knelt down, bringing herself to Naira's eye level, another strange gesture that violated every hierarchical instinct the cub possessed. The human extended her hand, palm up, fingers spread wide. "Take my hand. We'll get through this together." I don't understand," Naira whispered, her voice barely audible over the chaos. "The pack formation. Forget the formation," Celine interrupted gently. "Sometimes the best way to survive isn't to follow protocol. Sometimes it's to hold on to someone who won't let you go." The holographic predators advanced. The other cubs tightened their formation, their collective hiss of defiance filling the air. They were impressive, unified, strong. But Naira noticed something. The ones in the center looked just as terrified as she felt, and the ones on the perimeter bore the weight of everyone else's survival alone. No one was truly safe. No one was truly supported. Naira looked back at Celine's outstretched hand. The human's fingers were odd, too long, too flexible, lacking claws or fur. Yet there was something inherently trustworthy in the gesture, something that spoke of millennia of human evolution where cooperation meant clasping hands, not forming hierarchies. Slowly, hesitantly, Naira placed her small, padded paw into Celine's palm. The human's fingers closed around it gently, and Naira felt warmth. Not just physical heat, but something deeper. Security without submission. Strength without dominance. "Good," Celine said, standing up but never releasing Naira's paw. "Now stay with me. I've got you." The simulation threw everything at them. Holographic beasts with gnashing teeth, environmental hazards that would have separated any organized formation, obstacles designed to test the limits of species-specific survival tactics. The pack formation held for a time, but as the challenges intensified, cracks began to show. Cubs on the perimeter faltered. Those in the center panicked. The rigid structure that had protected them for generations suddenly became a cage. But Celine and Naira moved differently. The human didn't issue commands or establish hierarchy. She communicated through that simple handhold. A squeeze meant stay close. A gentle tug meant this way. A firm grip meant, I won't let go. Naira found herself responding not out of obedience, but out of trust, her natural feline agility complementing Celine's strategic thinking. When a holographic creature lunged, Celine didn't push Naira behind her. Instead, she moved with the cub, their joined hands acting as an anchor point that allowed both to dodge in synchronization. When the terrain became treacherous, Celine didn't carry Naira. She adjusted her pace, letting the cub's superior balance guide them both across narrow beams and unstable platforms. They weren't protector and protected. They were partners. Other cubs began to notice. First one, then another broke from the pack formation, drawn by the strange effectiveness of the human-Feliner pair. Celine extended her other hand, and a timid cub named Kes took it. Naira, emboldened, offered her free paw to another. Soon, a chain had formed, not a rigid formation but a flexible line of individuals connected by choice rather than protocol. The simulation's final challenge appeared, a chasm too wide to jump, too deep to climb down, with the exit visible on the other side. The remaining pack formation cubs huddled at the edge, awaiting instructions from adults who weren't coming. Their training had prepared them for many things, but not for this. Celine looked at the chain of cubs holding hands and paws, a smile spreading across her face. All right, everyone, this is going to sound crazy, but I need you to trust me, and more importantly, trust each other. She explained her plan quickly. The cubs would form a living bridge, using their combined length and the strength of their grips to span the gap. The feloners' natural flexibility made it possible, but only if everyone held on. But if one lets go, Kes started, her voice trembling. Then we all hold tighter, Celine interrupted. That's what hands are for. That's what holding on means. It took 3 attempts. On the first, their grip was too weak, fear making them tentative. On the second, they tried too hard, tension making them rigid. But on the third attempt, something clicked. They stopped thinking of themselves as individuals or as a formation. They simply held on. Naira felt Celine's hand around her paw, steady and unshakable. She felt the paw she held in return, trusting her the same way. And when her muscles screamed and her grip threatened to slip, she didn't let go because letting go meant breaking that trust point one by one. They swung across, each cub using the living chain of their companions to reach the other side. And when the last one, Naira herself, finally scrambled over the edge, pulled up by Celine's unwavering grip, the simulation ended, the alarms stopped. The holograms vanished, and in the sudden silence, the cubs looked at each other with new understanding. The remaining pack formation had failed the simulation. They stood at the chasm's edge, still waiting for orders, still locked in their prescribed positions. But Celine's group, connected by nothing more than held hands and held paws, had succeeded. Later, as the cubs filed out of the training facility, Naira lingered behind. She approached Celine, who was collecting her teaching materials, and tugged gently on the human's sleeve. "Instructor Kale," she said quietly, "why do humans hold hands?" Celine paused, then knelt down again, meeting Naira's eyes. "Because we learned something a long time ago," she said. "We learned that survival isn't about being the strongest or the fastest or knowing your place in a formation. It's about knowing that when everything falls apart, there's someone who won't let go." She extended her hand once more, and Naira took it without hesitation this time. "We learned that together is better than alone," Celine continued, "even if together looks messy and inefficient and breaks all the rules. Because at the end of the day, hands that hold on are stronger than any protocol." Naira's tail swished thoughtfully. Around the galaxy, species had their pack formations, their battle clusters, their hierarchical deployments. Sophisticated survival strategies refined over eons. But humans? Humans just held hands. And somehow, impossibly, that made them stronger than all the rest. As Naira left the facility, she noticed other cubs mimicking the gesture. Paws clasped together, no hierarchy, no formation. Just connection. The cat cubs had learned pack formation from their ancestors. But from a human, they learned something far more powerful. They learned to hold on.